So hello everyone. Very, very nice to be here with you. And Brenno surprised me with this proposal to be a guardian. And I think it's a good challenge. And I hope you also enjoy and we do this together. So while we were talking, Brenno suggested that we do this musical approach to what a dialogue is. And thus we decided that our conversation title would be the soundscape, and we were finding a bit what that meant, and we got something like compositions created using the sounds of an acoustic environment, either exclusively or in conjunction with other musical performances. And he said that he chose musicians for this conversation. And so my proposal for us and for our seed topic would be that we engage this dialogue in a musical form. And this can be either with Hey, hola, so a concha. Would you like to present yourselves and explore sound as we go? Okay, I will go and put my talking stick in the center, and we pass it on so that we always know who is speaking. Satya, you retrieved your talking stick. Just a reminder, every time we finish what we want to say, we put the talking stick back in the center so that anyone can pick it up back and take the word. O Kaito, acho que tem o microfone silenciado, a gente não consegue.
Sim. Okay. Now you can hear me? Well, I'm Kaito. Good afternoon. Can you hear this? This is a Zen drum. It's a mid controller. Here is it. That's it for the moment. Wow, questo.
So just to finish introducing the beginning of our dialogue, being very fast. My proposal is then that we create this dialogue through music and through sound. Although I believe maybe a conversation also sometimes needs a shape, so maybe we can choose words also if we would like to share an idea that comes to mind. Or how does a conversation, how does a dialogue happen in music? I think everyone, everyone here, I don't know if everyone has played with the other people, but I believe yes. And I don't know if you ever had this feeling that you are talking to someone without using any words, without using any concrete format, but just this sound. And when you are engaging this dialogue with someone, I'm just sharing the three principles of this dialogue. They are very simple and straightforward. They ask us that we speak from our heart. I think when we do music, we do this also. We are asked to listen as we would like to be heard. And I believe when you are a musician, also you learn to listen so that you know where you can fit yourself in, or I don't know how to express the idea. And the third one is to be brief and precise, so that we are accurate on what we want to share with this idea. So the topic and the seed question is music a dialogue format, or can we dialogue through music? I believe relates to the topic of these dialogues.one, that is revealing the non-obvious. So I believe many times people in their general senses are listening to music and they feel things, and the music can bring them to feel things, but maybe there is no reflection on why this is. And I believe it can be this power to dialogue and to transmit these actual emotions. And yeah, so I will open the space for our conversation right now with the sound, and I will finish this space with the same sound. What I will ask of us is that we adapt. Although one of the rules is to be brief and precise, and that we listen first and then speak, I believe if we are having a musical dialogue, everyone can also feel that they want to just add in that moment, and this is fair. So of course we are giving space for the person who has the talking stick to express, but as we are listening attentively, we can just give it if we feel like this is true. So if we want to unmute our microphones and see how this works, to have all unmuted microphones, to see if the sound is able and that we are all synced in with the internet. Yeah, this is it. So do you have any observations you would like to share beforehand we start? We are good? Okay. So, whoa, yeah, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
I would like to reflect on the words you just shared about revealing the non-obvious in music. And music is a collection of many frequencies. But I don't think we really focus on the individual frequencies within the music. Because generally, when we're feeling the amalgamation of frequencies that we call music through rhythm, through tone, through texture, through language, through breath, through subtle energies that are the counterpoints between the choice of instrument, the choice of culture that's coming behind that music, the choice of socioeconomic experience, the choice of education. There's so many aspects that music reveals and expresses through its pathway, through its medium, through its form. And I feel that as part of that revelation or that feeling or that movement that is sound, which is moving through space, through air particles, that we are sound. We are all sound, made of sound. The thing that we don't recognize, which is the obvious, is we keep forgetting the root. And I know that this format of dialogue is so beautiful because it's going to the root, the dialogos. Right? So the root of all music is frequency. And that frequency is not just the heard frequency that we just hear through air, but it's also the unheard, which can lead into this whole journey into space and the Earth's electromagnetic field and the sun's vibrations and how that is impacting our brain waves. And it's so vast and so deep, but then there's also the intimacy of vibration within ourselves through breath, through just being with ourselves, feeling the proprioception of when we just sit in silence and take a long breath and feel that movement of breath going up, in, and then even breathing out with a big sound. That then leads into how music is revealed through all the different permutations and combinations.
Satya and Kaito and Concha, I would like to tell you a short personal story, which came to mind after what Satya just said. So, if I think back of my, let's say, 8 years of conservatory studies, studying as a composer and a musician, there is so many music, so many tones, so many melodies, infinite amounts, and they keep on coming and they keep on coming. And for me, the journey of finding my own voice in that space has been to simplify. So we simplify, and by doing less, we get more. So my journey has been to start recognizing the qualities of sound in space, more and more precisely, more and more fine. And at that moment, music becomes sometimes oppressive because it's so much, already a music piece contains so incredibly much information. Whereas if we just take one element out of that almost infinite amounts of tones and melodies, which can just be contained in one music piece, and we just listen to that one element, we start to recognize its infinite dimensions in space, how rich already just one sound or one tone can be, how it has a presence, how that presence is manifested by so many intricacies, and how that interacts and reflects with the space around it. So my journey has been to, in a way, leave music behind, no matter how much I love music, but I leave music behind and I try to go closer to, you know, those the sort of sap of life, or the source, the smallest possible particle of music, and see what is inside there.
Kaito, o seu microfone.
Yes. My microphone is fine. Can you hear me? Well, beautiful words by Satya and Paul. I still doing a lot of music, composing, arranging, and I'm very lucky to be a Brazilian, because in Brazil we have a lot of percussion stuff, and I create a really my own world on this meaning, and I'm still working with it, as well as a composer and a piano player and a guitar player. So I love all kinds of instruments, and still doing it all the time with my friends, and with some work on soundtracks and things like that. And I believe that music is a never-ending thing. So it's that's always something new you can do with music, and how it touches you in all kinds of forms. I see that Satya and Paul maybe have some similar approaching to music, trying to find the essential of music, maybe in the choosing how the specific frequency can cause when you hear. I don't know if I'm right, so you can contest anytime. I'm still trying to mix a lot of frequencies, and exploring the resulting things you can do with this mixing, with this moisture, as a cooking chef. So trying to put some spicy here and then, and I'm always worried about new instrumentation format. Like my main work that begins in 1994 is with a string quartet, a trombone, and percussion. It's a very different kind of ensemble. And I think this challenge to write music for this kind of format that never used it before. I have a CD, for example, with only a violinist and me on percussion. It's a very new thing for me. I don't know if I've heard this before, but I think I love this challenge. I love the challenge of creating some music with new elements, things that I never heard before, exploring the texture, exploring this new combination, and that's it. I think I'm just a researcher guy in this meaning, the meaning of sounds. I think that's it for the moment, I have to say. This or this? I will choose this. This. It seems like the sun. Huh? That's fine.
Hey, I was having goosebumps as Satya was speaking, and then Paul, and now Kaito. It's really beautiful to see first this sharing and to be here. I'm still very that we are here. It's really nice. Exactly. Maybe me, I've never made the reflection on how music is actually an amalgamation of a lot of frequencies, and that this gives you a different effect in our bodies, in ourselves, than just one frequency. And as you were speaking, Satya, and then Paul, as you were describing this listening of just this one frequency, and to actually feel filled by it, by the healing power that soul frequency has, and how it can be a bit not suffocating, but too much when is a lot of big sounds, a lot of this amalgamation, and how it can be a bit overwhelming if you are not armed to it. I don't know how to say, but like going for that. Also, it's so good to see someone talk about composing music as cooking. It is a bit, it can be a bit for who likes, because it has this channeling of our creation and the channeling of our vibration, and also our choices and where that leads us. I would like to ask each of us to share maybe an experience where we felt, just to go to the seed topic, where we felt we were having a conversation with someone that we didn't know. So a moment with music happening, where you start a dialogue with someone that you don't know. For me, for example, sometimes in jam sessions here in Lisboa, I meet with some people, and some are musicians, some are just people who like to play, and so they are just like doing this in the combo. And maybe when we are starting, people are still a bit shy or a bit suspicious. They're still a bit like with a step back. And as soon as you start engaging the musical dialogue, no, and you look in the people's eyes, when you have direct eye contact also and smile, suddenly everything relaxes, and in the end, you have smiles and you are hugging people that maybe before you didn't know, but we had a conversation in another level, maybe. So okay.
Thank you, Concha. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Kaito. I want to actually reflect on what Kaito said and lead into what you're asking right now, is going from listening to space, listening to silence, listening to space, and then moving into multitudes of frequencies that create music. That subtle energies between the different instrumentation choices that we make, bridging cultures, like Kaito suggested when he spoke about the ensemble with violin and percussion, which is generally not experienced. I feel like that relationship of choice, that interconnectivity between the instrumentation between the subtleties of energy that are speaking within that bandwidth is what creates that emotional reaction we have. So that dialogue of emotional exchange that you have when you're in a environment that is either a film studio or like a movie screen where you're sitting and watching and experiencing this amalgamation of amazing music for a scene that's trying to communicate an emotion, generally that you can't do. I mean, if you watch a movie without the soundtrack, it's kind of dead. It doesn't really communicate that feeling. But the same aspect, if you move into a like street fair or street festival and have live musicians, percussionists, and like you were saying, Concha, you in the beginning are a bit estranged, and then you want to start connecting with people. It is that those spectrums, those bandwidth of spectrums that we resonate with each other as we are listening, as we're deeply listening and feeling those sound vibrations, because we've been listening since our mother's womb. It's the first sense we start to feel, and then we eventually start to listen to before we are even born into the sort of mind, body, sight, all senses life. We are actually first listening through liquid, through the amniotic fluid, through every skin in our body is listening, feeling. So there's that whole aspect of unspoken dialogue that once we start to resonate, because music as a subject, as Paul suggested, is like so much, and it can get so overwhelming. Even for me, it was overwhelming to find my voice within, because when you choose music as a subject for your life, then it's always about finding your voice within that space. And if you've not found your voice, you're not cool, or you're not understood, or you're not really resonating with your own expression. So in the journey of finding your voice and resonating with all the different aspects of sound and music that exist out there, for me personally, I was born in India. I studied very, very spiritual background of music as a tradition for spirituality, but at the same time I was watching Indian films that had this like deep desire to do film scoring, and then that led me to film scoring, but that led me to no, I want electronic music, and then I kept exploring all these different facets that got me to a point where I would be dancing for 8 hours in an environment where people are, you never know them, you don't know them, but you see them, you feel them, you dance, as you're moving with the rhythm, with the beats, you're actually in the same heartbeat. And when you're in that same heartbeat, that electromagnetism happens. And then you are having this unspoken dialogue, which feels so unmasked. And all your limitations start to drop, and all your problems just dissipate. And you start to become so in one with creation. But going back to the noise versus silence, the relationship of music and consciousness is so vast that an individual's brain will resonate with whatever and wherever they're at in their consciousness for the period of time, and it will keep moving. And that's why Kaito's beautiful statement that music is never ending. It's unending. Once you get on this path, it's really the journey of consciousness and growth and life and God and everything. That's all I can say.
So I would like to give a slightly different perspective on how I experience dialogue in a musical situation or a musical performance. So my feeling is that the moment we enter together into a listening experience, let's say it's a concert or it's a sound installation, I would say the dialogue is not so much happening between the musicians or between, let's say, the musicians and the listeners. Yes, of course, there is a form of dialogue happening, but on a deeper level, my experience is that the music that is being created is rather a vehicle. It's like a space which allows for every single person that is present in the room to actually be heard, even though people are usually not aware of it. But I have become aware of it because, as a producer of, hundreds of shows, I have heard, let's say, the same performance in the same space for many, many times. And I was always wondering, how is it possible that tonight this piece sounded so different than the night before, even though it was exactly the same piece? And for instance, in the case of an electronic music performance, I could say it's literally exactly the same bits and pieces that were played at the exact same second. So how is it possible that the experience is still so different? And bit by bit, I started to recognize that it's the presence of everybody in the room, what they bring at that particular moment, which completely changes the reality and the dimension of that music piece that you're hearing. So on that level, there's a dialogue happening, and it would be, I think, interesting to explore further what that is and what we can do with that as listeners, musicians, and anybody in between.
Good. It's a good area. It's a good that it touch now. I'm very worried about including the audience in my performances. They have to know that they are very important in the performance. And my music, it's part of it, is improvised. So I play only that improv for that audience in that day, in that hour, in that moment. So it's unique. And they have to feel it, because without the audience, you have nothing. You have to talk to someone, and they send you energy. It's a very valuable energy that they send to you on the stage. So I like to make them feel that they are really important. They are there to help me make music and to make music with me. So I always ask them to sing with me. I have a CD that my last works are always recorded live, because I'm sick of recording in a studio with no audience and re-recording it and take one, take two, take three, take four. I think the first take is the best always. So I recorded live, and I have in a CD that's called Self-Portrait, that I record a whole song with the audience. I gave them some paper folded. Then when you make a stroke, they open and make a clap. I distribute it to all the audience. So we had something like 200 people with an instrument in their hands. So I just I direct them. When I do this, you make a clap, you make a stroke, and using your voices and everything, you know. So this is very important. And when you do this in a certain moment of the concert, always change. The people is relaxed. The people is on the stage with you. It's like magic. It's something unforgettable. because they are there. I don't. I think poor. We're talking about a lot of music, a lot of sounds. I think there's something nowadays, and I think it's a bad thing for music. That's looking. People are looking for virtuosity, to play the maximum of notes in a bar. You know, I don't think this is a good researching. On the contrary, you make people sick of so many notes, and you know, it's true that you have to study. You have to be in a technical able to play what you want, especially when you improvise like me. So you have to study, yeah, have to have technique. So no, it's very important. But when you play, you don't have to play many notes. A good example is our great composer, popular composer, but I don't think it's so popular. Tom Jobim, for example. You see him playing the piano is like ping dong, bam, ping dong, pidore, ping dong, pom, ding dong, ping dong, podero, paro, ding. You don't need to play a lot of notes. You just have to play the right notes. That's the problem. Maybe it's the essential that Paul was talking about. I don't know. But I also like very much, for talking to Satya, for example, as an Indian girl. I love Indian music. I always loved Indian music. I play tablas. I had a master of tablas for a while. It's a very difficult instrument. It's a virtuosistic instrument. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. I will not be able to play Indian music because it's so different. And they divide the octave in 20 many parts when we divide it in 12 parts only. That's right. So it's difficult for us to really capture the little differences between the two notes. The half tone, you have many notes inside the half tone, and it's crazy. But it's beautiful. But it's another thing. It's another culture. I don't feel able to understand completely Indian culture because I had to live there for maybe 2 or 3 decades, and to get deep into this wonderful culture, and the music, so beautiful music. So I think I'm talking too long. I'm sorry. If someone wants to interrupt me, you can do it anytime. So I have a question that we didn't talk about, but what you were doing to make money in this pandemic? Satya,
Yeah.
would you raise your volume? You have a very low volume. We hardly can listen to it.
Is it better now?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I'm going to keep the last question somewhere in the distance, but I'm going to respond to Indian culture and the notes between the notes and the division of rhythm and form and the harmonic series, and going back to how complex sound and music can be as a dialogue, which is so exciting for me because I feel like in life in general, in modern life, music is a dialogue that is so, it is universal, not in modern day, in all of life, but in modern day, it's always about the listener and the player, the musician and the audience, the speaker and space, the sort of that interplay between the two, the duality. And I feel music as a language is a dialogue with the self, actually. And so if all of people start to become aware of the soundscape of their own lives and recognize I'm coming from this culture, Kaito's coming from the most incredible culture, Paul's coming from a completely different culture, and we have this interplay of relationships that we can build through the act of listening, through the act of dialoguing in the subtle space, that I feel it is in this space that we can actually grow as a human race. And going back to the origin question of how would nature and humanity thrive in a post-2030 scenario, is if we start to become more aware of music as a dialogue, as a format that goes beyond just the musician and the audience. And it's like, it's for all of us, because it is a dialogue with the self and a dialogue to express the self. Whether you are a trained musician, just like Kaito spoke so beautifully about, to be able to improvise, one has to have all the tools to break them. So you can play the right note at the right time. But really, most times, the right note is so subtle that it for someone who's untrained listener, it might feel simple. But for a trained musician and a practitioner and an educator, it takes so much time to actually get to that less, which is what Paul spoke about. Because we have 20 cycles of sound to 20,000 cycles of sound per second all the time in life. From the time we're born till the time we die, consistent in just what we can hear. But what about all the other frequencies that we're feeling that has its own dialogue consistently? So if we start to become aware of this more and more, then it's a way for our cultures to unite. It's a way for our feelings and emotions to be felt, be experienced, be explored. It's a way for us to learn from each other, grow with each other. And I totally feel and I totally believe that it is this aspect of listening and sound and music. Even if doesn't matter if somebody likes a type of genre versus another type of genre and the complexity between the two, as long as we become aware of this. Because it is, the other day I was in the park here and there was this guy working out like really intensely, and I was amazed by his dedication. I asked him, I said, what makes you do this? How do you find that willpower? And he's like, music. Music is the dialogue with the self. And so I really feel like if we can really understand the importance of this magical, mystical gift that we've been given of music, of sound, of frequency, of space, of listening as an act, as a conscious act, we can really, really, really find a lot of solutions to the challenges we are experiencing now in the world. And that goes to the question of Kaito, how are you making money in the pandemic? Because it's a problem.
So answer me. I'm sorry if it's a very private meaning, but I'm sorry I did. Paul, just a minute. But I'll talk by myself. I'm doing some remote things, some remote recordings that I hate, but I have to do it. Because as I told you before, my last words are always with audience. But I'm doing some recordings, I'm doing some soundtracks, not that much. It's a very difficult time, you know that. But I'm surviving and trying to find new fields of new ways to work with music and to make some money. That's is very important to survive, of course. And that's what I want to hear from you. I'm trying all the lives and that I hate as well, but there's no chance to do anything else than this because the concerts are locked, are forbidden, and for a very good reason. We have in Brazil a very, very bad situation, a very, very bad government. It's incredible thing. It's surreal. These things that happen at the same time. We have someone in the top of the country just doing the contrary of what he should. It's unbelievable. I don't know if you know a little bit about Brazil, news about Brazil, but it's a tragedy. So we are trying to keep quiet and calm if possible, and doing things in the quarantine. Going out for essential things as food and medicine, things like that. So I want to listen from you as well.
Two short responses to two questions, and two short reflections on doing less. I since when just before the start of the pandemic, which is now almost 1 year ago. So it started in Hungary on the 15th of March last year. And up until that time, I was traveling all the time around the world, going to the United States, to Canada, back to Europe, then to Satya in India, to Dubai, and so on and so forth. Constantly traveling. And that suddenly stopped on the 15th of March. And I started doing less, but the less is a lot more for me. I've had a fantastic time during the pandemic. I've hugely developed myself just by being with myself and being able to focus on, let's say, deep topics of sound exploration that I was never able to do before. So what have I been doing during the pandemic? Well, this, like, going deeper into the matters that I was already exploring before. Nevertheless, all this movement, all this traveling was it's very great. It's very inspiring, but it's staying at home was really helping me to go a level deeper. So right now I'm starting to miss a little bit the movement, but I'm grateful for the situation that has emerged and the way it helps us to focus. Actually, maybe not everybody it helps, but it gives us an opportunity to take a step back and see, okay, what is close to our skin, what's close to our body, and what can we still do, even if we're in the smallest corner and we can hardly get out. And also there's a huge space to be found, I believe. So the second reflection I wanted to give, which is also about less, doing less, and less is more. So we're talking about, yes, this the expansiveness of music. It never stops. It keeps on going. It generates more and more tones. But what about language? I mean, we are speaking here. we are sharing words. But if you take a step back and you just observe, what are these people doing? They're constantly moving their mouth, you know, they're switching from one sound to the next every fraction of a second, you know. You know, the speaking voice is so full of information and constantly going on and on and on. So very often I wonder by myself, how would it be if we just start to communicate with much less information? Again, we bring our essence back to a single tone, and maybe this is also the essence of the seed topic that Concha introduced. Now we're talking again, but we could also just be singing. We could say, I don't know if I'm able to express myself as I'm doing with language, but I'm sure that if we would tune into it, we would also get information that we're missing out on now that we are talking all the time and moving our mouth, you know, in different formats and different frequencies and different harmonic structures every single second. It's a question also.
Wow, Paul. No, wow. Thank you, Kaito. Thank you, Satya. Thank you, Paul. Really, it's an honor to share this room with you and to listen to your experiences and to your knowledge also on sound. And it's exactly this that you are saying, Paul. That maybe if you are just maybe if you just spoke with the maybe I don't have this rational, full of significance and significance of what you are saying, but I get maybe more to the root or to the core of the meaning of what you want to transmit. Sometimes I feel that when we are speaking with words, we get lost in the significant and the significance and what is the symbol of that. And it depends on my perspective, on my culture, on your culture, on how you were brought up, or how you were introduced to this topic. No? So yeah, wow, less is more indeed. Just to answer quickly to the question of Kaito, and then I want us to close this with the sound all together. Kaito, thank you for bringing the handpan to the table. I am not making money with music right now. I am cooking and I'm selling ready-made breakfast and snack food, healthy food. I cook vegetarian. But one thing I have been doing is just grabbing the ukulele or the guitar and just going around in normally afternoon when it's dusk. And I just go around. If I go to the garden, I play. And it's beautiful how you see the people in the houses, in their apartments, come out to listen. And in the beginning, maybe there is no one there. And then suddenly you start seeing little heads coming like, oh, music. So music as dialogue, but also music as this dialogue with the self, and how that is also therapy in a way, if you know what I mean. And this connection to ourselves for sure is the base for us to heal a bit the connection and the communication in society and human society, so that we can connect to nature's vibration and really understand what we are all doing.
Well, to say goodbye, and not for long, I expect.
Yeah, we have 7 minutes.
No, well, I mean, we can do it again, maybe. Try to be connected. I love it. So I invite you to sing with me. I know that maybe there's a delay, but it doesn't matter. because I'm gonna play 7/4 here, so you can sing in any tones and any. We have this is a pentatonic. So I'll do a groove here just to say goodbye. I don't know if I'm interrupting, if Paul want to say something or Satya. We're about to closing the sound. Oh, no, don't close it. So
No, you will play, and we have 6 more minutes for us to do this sound together, all of us. And you are starting, Kaito.
Satya want to say something.
Can I say something just before we get into the sound on the topic of money, matter, structure? I would say that from my end, that which has been emerging is educating people more and more about the importance of music as a dialogue, music as a system that is not just this field of entertainment that people will just tune into and work through these platforms that exist out there. And most times people pay nothing for music, and that's why musicians have to rely on live performances. But if we start to become aware as a collective consciousness that music is an essential worker's job, then it would not be in the bottom of the spectrum, but it would be one of the most important dialogues and aspects of life that we need to heal as humanity, as nature. And as musicians, we have the gift, the responsibility, and the need to actually keep shifting and listening to what is happening in the environment and shift our focus. So, Kaito, I invite you to teach me. I'd love to do a lesson with you. So.
Well, I think it's finishing, huh? So let's. The girls. No fundo do rio tem areia, na boca do rio tem. Quando a areia desce, palmateia, se não quer voltar.
No fundo.